Okay, we are in Psalm 94. See, now I took this away from Peter, and now I'm playing with it. Okay, Psalm 94. Yeah, it's great. I'm just start playing with it, even though I took it from him. He was like spinning it, so I took it from him, and I'm like, we're doing Psalm 94. So, take it away. Anyway,
you're supposed to be able to use it while you're studying because it helps you focus.
yeah, I'll just take this like on Sunday. I'll just be talking. I'll just be doing this. This is actually pretty cool. I want one now. Okay, you can have it back because it's cool. All right, so let's refocus. Psalm 94. I do not want to set up I can't believe this. What on earth? Enough. All right. Turning focus assist on. Now you will not bother me. All right, Psalm 94. Psalm 94 is an interesting psalm. There's a famous passage in Ecclesiastes 8, where Solomon is he's sort of thinking out loud to himself, and he says, "Why do I see evil people prosper, and why do I see righteous people suffer? Why do I see everything flipped upside down?" And he sort of like steels himself and says, "But nevertheless, I know that God will fix everything in the end. That all the injustice that I see now, how things that how evil is called good and good is called evil, and there's so much badness going on. One day," he says, "I know God's going to fix it." And this is this psalm is sort of an extended, a longer version of the same thing. He is the psalmist. We don't know who he is. We don't know what the situation is, so it really doesn't matter. It's just the basic point of there are bad things that happen in the world, and it's not right, and it's frustrating. God allows bad things to happen. You look around and wonder why he's letting it happen. Why are things the way they are? And when is God going to do justice? In Revelation 5 and in a few other places in Revelation, you have an image of God's people who've died for their faith, and they're asking God, how long is it going to be until you avenge us, till your judgment and justice goes forth? And Psalm 94 is like that. And that's why this psalm is so real. It's a psalm to read when we I'm just going to set up my device because I'm tired of this. It's defeated me. Okay, you win. Okay, yes, you win. I will set up the device so you leave me alone. Succeeded in 2 seconds. Whatever. Okay, so let's read Psalm 94. And now that I've pushed the computer notification, I will have no more interruptions. Okay, so this is what it says. O Lord, God of vengeance, O God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O judge of the earth, repay to the proud what they deserve. So you already get this sense of a guy who's sort of looking around with his hands like this saying, when is justice going to happen? He calls God a God of vengeance. He wants God to sort of wake up and go out and destroy the enemies and fix things, repay to the proud what they deserve. He's looking forward to God as the judge. And passages like this are really important because when we sing songs in church, they're usually just about love. And love is good and grace is good and everything else. But here's a picture of a believer who's looking forward to the God of judgment because he wants things to be fixed. He wants things to be set right, and he's looking forward to it. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as we don't have a malicious spirit. But the basic point, God is love, but he's also God of justice and judgment. And it's not bad to want God to set things right. And that's what this guy wants. He says, "O Lord, how long shall the wicked exult? They pour out their arrogant words. All the evildoers boast. They crush your people, O Lord, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the sojourner and murder the fatherless. And they say, the Lord does not see. The God of Jacob does not perceive." So who are these people? Like, who are his foes, who he's talking about? Holly.
Humans.
They are humans. That's true. That's true. That's a good one. I mean, what kind of humans?
Bad humans.
Okay, are they like, are we talking about like Philistines or are we talking about Israelites?
How about everyone's a bad human since it's not proved by failure, right?
They're people from outside of Israel. This is saying that verse 5 says, "Oh Lord," talking about the people. They say, "Oh Lord, they crush your people. They oppress the nation that belongs to you."
And afflict their heritage.
Maybe.
So, yeah, it indicate that they're not that they're not Israelites
Yeah,
by
it
that
could-
statement,
yeah,
5.
it could be corrupt leaders inside the nation, or it could be talking about like the evil Babylonians or just the evil pagans around. I think it's probably talking about people inside the nation who are just wicked people. Mostly because of what comes toward the end of the passage. But he's upset because there's so much bad stuff going on. The most vulnerable people in society are being oppressed, destroyed, crushed, sort of just being crushed under so much burdens of different kinds. It doesn't matter what they are, they're being figuratively crushed. And they say, this is another reason why I think we're talking about people who are in the community. They used God's name. The Lord does not see, the God of Jacob does not perceive. It's like, these are people who say, God doesn't know what I'm doing. It's like they say to themselves, God doesn't care what I'm doing. God doesn't see what I'm doing. God doesn't know what I'm doing. Sort of like, he'll never know or he'll never find out. And in verses 8 to 11, he just sort of makes fun of that idea. Understand, O dullest of the people, fools, when will you be wise? He who planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? He who disciplines the nations, does he not rebuke? He who teaches man knowledge, the Lord, knows the thoughts of man, that they are but a breath. God, he's saying God sees everything. He knows everything. He knows everything that goes on. He sees what we do, even when we think that he doesn't care. And that's important because God does see the bad things that go on in our world. He sees the bad things that happen to you. He sees the bad things that happen to people. And it's not as though we can't say he doesn't care or he doesn't know. He does know. And because we know his character, he's good and holy, he does care. He just has a timetable that's different than ours. Where does this remind you of when it says that men are the thoughts of man and that people are like a breath? What New Testament passage does that remind you of? James. James is a good one. That's probably where James gets this idea from. That compared to God, we're just this mist, this fog that vanishes in the morning, and God is permanent. And then we have verses 12 to 13. Blessed is the man whom you discipline, O Lord, and whom you teach out of your law, to give him rest from days of trouble until a pit is dug for the wicked. What does that mean? What do verses 12 and 13 mean? Samuel.
I don't know.
You don't
I
know.
don't know what verses 12 and 13.
Okay, blessed is the man whom you discipline, O Lord. So he's actually exulting because he knows that if God makes your life difficult because he wants to teach you something, that means he actually cares about you. He's trying to help you. The person who God decides to teach and leads through difficult times so he can discipline them and make them learn lessons, That means God actually loves you. Hebrews 12 talks about the same thing. You know you're one of God's children if he disciplines you. Because if he didn't discipline you, it would mean he didn't care about you. But a good parent always disciplines his children. What he's talking about is he's looking forward for God's justice to come, for God to give evil people what they deserve. He knows God sees what's happening. And in the meantime, he knows that when God disciplines the people who do love him, it means that's proof that he actually does love his people. You're blessed if God disciplines you. It's for our own good to give us rest from the days of trouble until a pit is dug for the wicked. He's teaching us, God through his word teaches us how to live in this life through all the trials and tribulations and problems, while he prepares judgment for the people who hate him. He's making us more like him while he prepares judgment for the people who reject him. For the Lord will not forsake his people. He will not abandon his heritage. For justice will return to the righteous, and all the upright in heart will follow it. And that's really the heart of the psalm, verses 14 to 15. Even though he sees just a society that's in complete chaos, that doesn't care about God, the people who are supposed to care about God don't care about God, and he wonders when God is going to sort of rise up and be a God of vengeance. But then he says, the people who you're teaching, we who you're teaching through all this, you're disciplining us. That means you care about us, and we know you won't forsake us. We know you won't abandon us. We know you're going to bring justice to this world and to the righteous. Who rises up for me against the wicked? Who stands up for me against evildoers? What's the answer what's the answer to those questions? God. He's saying this like to himself. Who rises up for me against the wicked? God does. Who stands up for me against the evildoers? God does. Even though it might not look like it sometimes, he's reassuring himself and teaching us that God does care for us, no matter what it looks like. If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have lived in the land of silence. He says, I'd be dead if God weren't my helper. It'd all be over for me. When I thought, my foot slips, your steadfast love, O Lord, held me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. Can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who frame injustice by statute? That's a really haunting statement, especially when you think about today. If you enshrine injustice into law, you really can't be someone who loves and belongs to God. No, you don't just do things that are unholy, but you give them this force of law. That's like going a step further than just being personally evil. Now you're passing legislation to tell society that it's good and right to do these things. So there's clearly stuff going on in society whenever this guy wrote this, that is just totally opposed to all of God's standards for holiness and right and wrong. And so I think the people he's really talking about are the lawmakers in the society, the people who pass the laws, who make the laws, the rulers in society. And he's just looking and shaking his head saying, what on earth has become of us as a people? That's why in particular, this section here is so, that's why the song can resonate so well today, because we can look at our society and say, can wicked rulers be allied with you, those who frame injustice by statute? There's been a lot of injustice framed by statute in the last 60 or so years. A lot of it. It's been given the force of law, so therefore it must be okay. I had two people in the waiting room and I didn't even know you were there. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. I read that. They band together against the life of the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become my stronghold and my God, the rock of my refuge. He'll bring back on them their iniquity and wipe them out for their wickedness. The Lord our God will wipe them out. And that's so different than what we would do today. None of us would think about ending a song of praise by singing that God will wipe them out. But that's what he does. You know, there's a place for songs about love and grace, and we sing about love and grace. But this is a song where the guy sees a society that's thoroughly evil, and he's praying for God to execute judgment. And he knows God will protect him as they're waiting, but he's really looking forward to them being wiped out. And that's what we say implicitly if you say the Lord's Prayer, if you pray the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. We're telling God that we want his kingdom to come. We want judgment to come. We want things to be made right. And that's what the psalmist is saying here too. So like the same question that Solomon asked, why is there so much bad stuff happening, and does God care, and is he going to do anything about it? And Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 8, he is going to do something about it. I know he is. I know this isn't the way things are meant to be, and I trust his promises that he's going to fix it. I know he's going to do it. And that's what Psalm 94 is, a longer version of the same thing. The Lord will not forsake his people. He will not abandon his heritage. And that's Psalm 94.